MGF GRiPSHORE is a range of lightweight, manhandleable GRP shoring products, ideal for use in the utility sector when either hand digging or using a mini excavator. All the products can be installed and extracted by hand and do not require lifting or handling by an excavator. The modular box system provides shoring solutions for excavations up to 2000 mm deep, incorporating single-acting hydraulic struts to support trench widths ranging from 625 mm to 1450 mm. At 1500 mm in length, the modular box provides a generous working area. The collapsible equipment means that this system can be easily transported in small commercial vehicles. GRiPSHORE modular boxes can generally be collected or delivered direct to site within 24 hours. Please contact MGF for free advice on whether the product is suitable and if a design is required. MGF can provide a complimentary design service for customers submitting a completed MGF design request form. In a hand dig situation, the product is installed using a dig and undermine technique and is therefore only suitable for use in trenches whose vertical sides are generally stable and self-supporting in the short term. Prior to delivery, prepare a safe working area local to the excavation for assembly of the system. Unload the modular box and lay one of the panels on timber skids with the MGF logo facing the floor and toes of the rail facing skyward. The modular trench box consists of two identical boxes to create a top and bottom unit, installed in two stages. Each unit consists of two GRP panels connected together by two hydraulic struts. Begin by assembling the base unit. Each panel has four connector boxes. The lower boxes on the base unit only must have stop bolts fitted through the pre-drilled holes, secure in place by tightening the nut. Ensure any air is removed from the hydraulic struts by opening the quick release valve and compressing the struts. Two hydraulic struts should be placed inside the rail with the male hydraulic coupling facing the top of the panel. The hydraulic struts are not connected together and should both be placed in the same orientation. Connect hydraulic struts within the rail using provided pins and R-clips. Please be aware that at this point of installation the hydraulic strut is able to scissor and could potentially trap operatives' fingers. Care must be taken to ensure the hydraulic struts do not collapse. Place the opposite panel over the struts, aligning the pre-drilled holes in the struts with the rails. The end of the strut with the hose connector is secured with a single pin through the upper hole. The opposite end is pinned through both bottom holes. When positioned correctly, both panels will be flush. Connect the bucket pump to both hydraulic struts via the supplied two-way bridle and hoses, ensuring that the hose and the bucket pump do not obstruct the installation. The hoses will connect to the male quick release valves on the cylinders. Hand dig or excavate the trench to the required width and to a depth of 1 metre and batter the ends whenever possible. Faces of the excavation must be vertical and provide sufficient space for the system to be easily slid into place. To ensure that the system adequately preloads the soil and to prevent extraction difficulties, it is important the trench is dug to the design dimensions. Inspect to ensure the faces are vertical and stable. Do not stand over the edges in case the face is unstable. Carry the bottom unit over to the trench and position flush with the edge. The end of the rail with the hole in it should be facing away from the trench. Feed 4 installation slings through the connector boxes attached to the panels and back through the loop of the sling and pull tight. 2 operatives should then grip 2 slings each, one from each panel, to suit their corresponding sides, ensuring that they are stood in a safe area with secure footing. The sling should be gripped such that it can be easily released if a secure footing is lost. The hydraulic hoses can be left on while the bottom box is installed. Ensure trail of hoses and bucket pump are sited in a safe place to avoid trip hazards. The ground must not be loading the system at this stage to avoid overloading the hydraulic components. Carefully begin to launch the modular box system until the weight of the unit is balanced on the edge of the trench. Take any slack from the straps and begin to raise the unit such that its self-weight will begin pulling the box into the excavation. Operatives should consider the weight of the modular box configuration to ensure that this can be controlled. Place straps safely to one side and begin to pump out the hydraulic struts using the MGF supplied bucket pump. The valve on the single acting bucket pump is one way and should remain in the forward position to lock and pressurise the hydraulic strut. The unit may need to be slightly lifted during pump out using the installation straps if the base snags on an uneven trench floor. Continue until the facing panel pushes tightly against the opposing trench wall and that soil begins to compress. Panels should be in continuous contact with the trench wall. It is critical that any voids directly behind the hydraulic struts are packed out with timber or similar strength material to ensure that the ground is suitably preloaded. Continue to pressurise the system to between 400 and 750 psi. The pressure gauge must hold a pressure and not indicate any loss in pressure. Struts are fitted with a safety bleed-off valve to prevent overextension. If hydraulic fluid is visible, then the strut is too short and either a longer strut is required or the width of the trench needs reducing. Hydraulic fluid is water soluble and biodegradable. It is now safe to re-enter the trench and dig down to 1.5 metres. Alternatively, carefully dig out with an excavator between the struts. 2 metre GRP connector poles can be used to assist with the modular box installation. Return to ground level and slide the 4 2 metre connector poles through the box connectors attached to the panels. Connection poles should sit in the stop bolts of the lower boxes. Release the pressure in the hydraulic struts and allow the base unit to drop to the trench floor. If the unit is stuck, use connector poles to prise the unit away from the trench wall. Repressurise hydraulic struts and remove the hydraulic hoses. Retrieve hoses, ensuring that the female connector does not fall to the ground, as grit and dirt can damage the mechanism. Slide a single panel over 2 of the connector poles and lower onto the base unit. Lay the second panel down so that the rails are skyward and insert hydraulic struts as previous. Ensure that the end with the male connector is fitted. Lift the opposite panel and struts and place over the 2 connector poles. Lower the panel onto the base unit. Take care not to trap fingers between the panel and the hydraulic strut. Connect a 2-way bridle to the hydraulic struts and pump out, guiding the end of the strut into the rail. When the faces touch, lock in place with pins and R-clips. Ensure that the strut does not pressurise against the rail. Re-enter the trench and dig down to 2 metres depth. Exit the trench and release pressure in the hydraulic struts and allow both units to drop to the trench floor. If the unit is stuck, use connector poles to prise the unit away from the trench wall. The struts in the top unit can now be pressurised against the trench walls. Enter the trench and reconnect the hydraulic hoses to the base panel. During this process, the box is acting as a shield only until the struts are pressurised. Repressurise the base struts. It is important to perform this task immediately to ensure a safe working area. Ensure final position of the unit sits square and vertical against both faces of the excavation, with continuous vertical contact on the exposed trench faces. Realign and pack out if necessary. Continue to install trench box units as required along the length of the trench. The space between boxes depends upon the stability of the soil face. If there is a concern about loose material falling into the trench, then the gap can be closed. If the ground is stable, then boxes can be spaced at a maximum of 1.5 meters apart. Inspect the full installation, ensuring that there is no evidence of instability along the unsupported faces and edges. It is now safe to enter the excavation via a ladder placed inside the modular box. When inside the trench, operatives should continually monitor the walls for change of conditions such as water seepage, excessive movement or cracks. MGF can supply a modular handrail system which slots into the connector pole, creating a safe barrier around the excavation, as well as a ladder access point. Modular box units are removed in a continuous backfill and lifting sequence, ensuring that no operatives enter the trench unless they are within a zone protected by fully pumped out struts. Depressurize struts using an MGF release tool and use connector poles to prise panels away from the face of the trench. Once the panels are capable of being easily lifted out, remove the top box with the straps and place safely to one side. Remove connector poles and continue backfilling and raising the base unit until it can easily be removed from the trench. Place each unit on timber skids ready for disassembly. Reattach the bucket pump hoses to the upper struts and turn the valve on the bucket pump back. Apply even pressure to the panel, releasing the fluid within the cylinders back into the bucket. When completely emptied, remove the two-way bridle. Remove R-clips and pins in sequence, firstly to allow the top panel to be removed, followed by both hydraulic struts. Now repeat this procedure for the top unit. Disassembly is now complete. Before collection, remove any loose dirt and contaminants. Units can now be returned to MGF.